Let's talk about the 2025 Washington Huskies football team for a little bit. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. And you guys are going to have to indulge me a little bit, maybe, because I usually don't talk about non-Seahawks stuff with the morning video. When I do occasionally make a video that isn't Seahawks related, I usually do it a little later. The morning video tends to be a little more sacred for me, but that's not going to be the case today. I don't really have anything Seahawks related to talk about right now. I just don't. I think we have practice today. We do. We'll have something to talk about later, but I want to go ahead and get this done while everything else is moving kind of slowly. I don't want to try to talk about the Huskies in a video in a couple days if a bunch of stuff happens. Like, let's say we get a bunch of news updates about the Seahawks in a couple days, and I try to cram in a Huskies video. It's better this way. So anyone who came here expecting a Seahawks video, sorry, but we're going to talk about the Huskies football team for 2025. This is my team. I am a Washington Huskies fan. I went and graduated from the university. I went to, rather, would be the right way to say that. So obviously I didn't pay very much attention when I was at Washington, if I'm going to structure a sentence like that, but I still graduated. So let's talk about the Washington Huskies for 2025. Quite simply, I need to see steps in the right direction this year, or I'm going to start doubting this regime. I think that we got what we needed last year. I do. I know that some people were frustrated and disappointed last year. I saw some people that I respect, saying that Jedd Fisch needs to be one and done. I didn't join that group. I think that going 6-6 with a bowl game loss last year was totally understandable. The team was detonated after the national championship run. The team got completely reworked. So many players transferring out, so many coaches leaving. I think going 6-6, 6-7 with the bowl game is totally fine. No problem. They were terrible on the road. They were really good at home. They made it work adequately well with a stopgap one-year quarterback, Will Rogers, and they worked on developing stuff behind some of the guys that they brought in as kind of mercenaries. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't great. There's a reason why the Huskies had such a small presence at the draft earlier this year, but let's see better. And when I say better, my initial gut says I need to see this team win 8 games. I need to see this team win 8 games this year for me to feel like this is going the right way. Jedd Fisch, who was our hire after DeBoer left for Alabama, Jedd Fisch, his thing was he turned around a really, really, really weak program at, I always forget if it's Arizona or Arizona State. I think it's Arizona. But Jedd Fisch was a guy who went there when they were very, very weak. And within a few years, he had them almost competing for a playoff spot. He had them at a really, really high level. And it took a little bit of time, understandably so. And it's going to take a little bit of time here, but I need to start seeing the steps. If you go back to that Arizona team that he took over, I think they went from like a 2-win team to a 6-win team to a team that was competing for the playoff. This is year 2. You've got some of your guys in place now, and not just guys that you shoved in there because you needed something. You've got guys like Demond Williams Jr., who I supported not playing him big snaps last year. I thought that was the right thing to do. I thought it was correct for us to be careful with him. And I wasn't sure how high I was on him, but I am pretty darn high now. This offseason for him has been great. And this is college. College players are not under the same obligation to use their offseason to get better the same way a pro player is. I understand that, but as much as you can have an offseason as a college player, Demond Williams has had it. He went to the Peyton Manning Passing Academy and did great. He showed his strength. He's doing crazy stuff in the weight room, and this is on top of the athletic ability that he showed last year. This is a guy who I don't know if he'll ever be a great pro prospect because he is small, but he could be a great college quarterback, I think. There's no reason why he can't. He doesn't have the strongest arm in the world, but he's got everything else. This could be a guy who is like Johnny Manziel, and I mean the good Johnny Manziel, the Johnny Manziel that won the Heisman. This guy could do some of that stuff. Maybe not exactly the same, but similarly. We're bringing back Jonah Coleman at running back. He's great. Denzel Boston at wide receiver. He's going to be awesome. Very excited about him. And that's kind of your base of power here as the Washington Huskies. That trio of players is going to be hopefully what guides you to the next great Huskies squad. Beyond that, there are other notable good players, but the offensive line isn't star-studded the way that it was a few years ago. I think we know that. We don't have a bunch of super blue-chip prospects who are going to be dominant up front on the offensive line. The defense, the big problem last year was the run defense. They had a really weak run defense. I think it was barely top 100 in the country. They brought in some big guys down on the lines. They brought in guys that are 310, 315, 320, guys who can clog up lanes, guys who can take up space. I do think that part of the team is going to improve, and that was the main part of the defense that needed to improve. They were very weak against the run. The rest of the defense was okay, and I don't think they lost anything devastating this offseason. I will say I don't see a lot of over-the-top stuff with that defense. I'm not looking at that squad and thinking we're going to have the best defense in the Big Ten or one of the best. We're going to hold teams to 18 points a game. We're going to control teams like Oregon with this defense. We're going to control Ohio State. I don't think any of that. I think that it should be an okay defense. I don't see the pieces to make it over the top. And again, that can be fine. It's year 2 of a completely new era. But is that enough? Is good skill players, I think, good skill players, maybe even great, an okay offensive line that lacks star power, and a stable defense that also seems to mostly lack star power, is that going to get you where you want to go? Let's take a look at the schedule here real quick. Again, I think 8 wins is the target here. If we get to 8 wins, okay, we're on the right track. If we don't, then I'm not so sure. At that point, I have to start wondering, do we have the right guy? So Colorado State, UC Davis, you're starting the season with 2 games that should be relative layups. These are both home games. You should be cruising to victory in both of these. UC Davis does not even have an ESPN page for their team. That's rough. And then after those first 2 games, so you really only get the 2 layups, you start finding out about your team. And it's tough for me to judge some of these squads because I don't follow every college football team super closely, of course. I mean, who can? But here's the path. I think you need to beat Wazoo. They lost their quarterback in the offseason. They still have some good players. I'm not suggesting otherwise. And I know that they're going to be highly motivated to win at home. Remember, this is going to be a road game. This is going to be a game that is very important to them, just like it was last year. But I still think that's a game you need to win because, again, we're talking about a team that lost. I really like John Mateer, our Mateer. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. My bad. You guys know how I am with the pronunciation stuff, but you lose that guy. I don't see any reason to believe they've replaced him with something equal or better. And that should be the big difference maker here because that was a very close game last year. And John Mateer played very well in that game. So I think you beat Wazoo. Rutgers at home. Last year, you lost to Rutgers in a game you really probably should have won, and it was on the road. Now you're getting them at home. They're traveling 3,000 miles. Yeah, that's a game you better win. Illinois at home. That's a game that I would certainly say you're going to lose if it's on the road. And I know Illinois is ranked coming into the year, but even if they're good this year, even if they have a nice squad, I think that's a game you got to win. Excuse me. So that's 5 wins. Purdue at home. That's got to be 6 right there. And I'm going to say that even though it's a road game, UCLA should also be a win. It's not going to be a big travel length. It's not going to be an unreasonable ask to go from Washington to California and win a game. I don't get the sense that UCLA is going to be anything overly special this year. I think that's win number 7. So when is win number 8 coming in here? When is that 8th win coming? Ohio State? I mean, it's at home, right? That's nice, but oof. Is it Maryland? Is it cross country traveling from West Coast to East Coast against a team that probably isn't great, but we saw how this team was very negatively affected by having to make these long trips. And a lot of those trips were not anywhere near as long as this trip is going to be. At Michigan, a Michigan team that should be improved this year. That's hard too. At Wisconsin, I don't know what Wisconsin's going to be this year, but that's another Midwest game. These are the kinds of things that are tricky. And finally, you wrap it up with a home game at Oregon. Look, it's great that it's at home, but it's still Oregon. I just think they're pretty comfortably ahead of us right now as a program. I just think Oregon's ahead of us. Maybe next year I won't think that. If we bring back guys like Demond Williams and we really stack up on the lines, then next year I would look at a game at home against Oregon and say, yeah, I think we're going to win. It's hard for me to do that right now. It's hard for me to look at that Oregon team and say, yeah, I think we can beat them. Home advantage will only help you so much. So where is that 8th win that I'm looking for here? Where does it come in? Best guess would be at Wisconsin. And everything I just said, I understand that what I'm really talking about here is how do I get to a place where I'm content with the team losing every adverse test that they get, right? Because if I'm saying, I know they're going to lose to Ohio State, I know they're going to lose to Michigan, I know they're going to lose to Oregon, I pretty much, I heavily suspect they're going to lose to, what did I say here? Maryland, just because of how long of a distance that is to travel. I understand that it sounds like I'm basically trying to find a world where I'm okay with them never passing a big test, but that's where we are right now as a program. It wasn't going to get built up in a day. I don't think this team is a playoff team. I don't think we're that close to a playoff team. I just don't. I think this is a good team that can make a bowl game, win 8 games, go 8-4. Maybe they win the bowl game, maybe they don't. But 2026 could be a good year. That could be a playoff year. That could be a year where you're competing on an equal plane with a team like Oregon. I don't think it's this year, but I found, I think, 7 reasonable wins. These Washington Huskies need to go find an 8th one for me. And look, of course, I'm not going to be completely ignorant to context. If they lose to Ohio State by 2 points on a last-second field goal, or if they lose a triple overtime game to Oregon, I might sing a different tune. I might be coming out of those games going, you know what? I'm not mad. I'm not going to be upset about that loss at all. I'm not going to really hold it against them because look at the fight they showed. Look at how close they are. And if they lose a lot of games like that this year, that might be something I'm willing to tolerate, but I think that's about where the team is. It's a good team, but it's not yet a very good team. And I think they're going to be good enough to be noteworthy. but I don't think we're yet ready to step up to the big dogs. So let me know what you guys think. See you guys later. Bow down to Washington.